there my lovelies, I'm Crafty Dragon and welcome to Dark Reality. Before we get started, if you're a fan of true crime, conspiracies, urban legends, mysteries and all that kind of stuff, make sure you click that subscribe button and maybe click on the notifications too so you don't miss the next video. In this video we are looking at the stories of two mums. I've put them together because I think there's a link. It's not a link that excuses behaviour, but I think it's a link nevertheless, so it was important for me to bring them together. Anyway, let's get on with it. On the 19th of January 1970, a woman by the name of Alice Idlet Bunch arrived at a hospital. I don't think I got the name of the hospital. Did I? Oh, I did. Oh, that's why I didn't put it in there. She arrived at the emergency room of West Calcasieu Cameron Hospital in Sulphur, Louisiana. There's a reason I didn't put that in. Now I remember. Anyway, she arrived at the emergency room with her 15-month-old son, Earl Dwayne Bunch III. He had several injuries. He died in the morning of the 20th of January during emergency cranial surgery. He was, as I say, he was only 15 months old. At the time, an investigation was conducted, but Alice said that he fell from his crib, and that kind of stopped the investigation. The case was closed, done. Now, 55 years later, the possible truth is coming out. At the time of the death, the child's father was stationed in Thailand. It was during the Vietnam Wars. But Alice wrote him letters. These letters began before his death. And it seems like these letters have been either glossed over or not taken seriously, really, until now. What was in these letters has actually led investigators to say that they now know who killed Earl. Alice was charged on the 27th of March. There was a $950,000 bond set after the district attorney's office presented new evidence before a grand jury. So now Alice awaits her trial. I think the easiest thing for me to do is to read some of the excerpts from the letters to give you an idea of where her mind was at before the accidental death of her child. I just got through wiping that little bastard. I hate him. That's the honest truth. I can't stand this life. God had to punish me by letting me have that little brat. I wish I would have died when he was born. I hate myself. Do you think I'll ever be happy? Now I know how those people feel that get rid of their kids. I believe I could do it. I'm serious. If he starts crying when I put him down to play, I'm going to whip him until his seat is red. I can't put up with this mess. I hate your son. I wish he was dead. But she also wrote, "What is wrong with me, darling? I should love my own son, but I really don't think I do. And if I did, I would know." These are just some of the things that were in her letters. There's a lot more, but I'm not going to read you everything that was there. These kind of give you an idea of where her mind was at. At the time of the letters, Earl had pleaded with Alice not to hurt the child. He had also expressed his concern to his military supervisors, and he had requested leave. His concerns were never matched by his supervisors, and he was only requested leave to attend to the child's funeral. The thing I couldn't get my head around while doing this, so you will get me questioning it a lot, is he didn't take the letters to the police at the time. He kind of just went, "You have to believe your wife." Do you? So he kind of just put the letters away, and they moved on with life. Right, these letters were forgotten about until 1983 when Earl filed for divorce due to discord and disharmony in the marriage. He had written down that he was giving full custody of their 7-year-old daughter to Alice. While going through the process, Alice actually started to ask him about the whereabouts of the letters. So he found himself rereading them for the first time in 13 years. What he read actually prompted him to look further into the death of Dwayne, and he spoke to the doctor who examined his son at the time, and the doctor actually said that these were not the type of injuries he would have expected to see from a fall from a crib. It looked more like a child had been beaten, that perhaps somebody had taken it by the feet and swung it against a piece of furniture or the wall. What I find disgusting is that this was reported when he died. The concerns were expressed by the doctor, and it was written on his death certificate that there were extensive injuries, but the cause of death was not listed and the case was just closed. After speaking with the doctor, Earl promptly amended his petition to seek full custody of the daughter. At the time, multiple health professionals examined Alice and their daughter, and they were both said to be in good physical and mental health. Alice also testified under oath that she doesn't remember writing any of the letters to her husband, so joint custody was awarded and nothing else was done. However, in 2022, the police reopened the case by the request of Earl's family, and the body was exhumed for an additional forensic examination. What came from the examination was that the death was actually determined as homicide. So the police believe they have a strong case against Alice due to the letters, due to the forensic examination, and due to what the doctor says was the condition of the child when he was admitted to hospital. We await trial. I will follow this up in the future when we know more, but I wanted to report on it. I'm not excusing her, and I don't want it to look like I'm excusing any behaviour. And I say it, but I mean, she's not been proven guilty. But if she did do this, the whole case just screams postpartum depression to me, or postnatal depression, depending on where you are in the world. So I had a quick look, and it wasn't formally recognised as a medical concept until 1994. So it could be highly possible that she was suffering. No one had any idea. As I say, it still doesn't excuse what happened to the child. But maybe if women's mental health had been seen to a bit sooner. I'm just saying. The second case we're looking at is of a woman called Marybeth Tinning. And she was born Marybeth Rowe on the 11th of September 1942 in Duanesburg, New York. It's written that she was a typical student, kind of like a mundane write-up about her. However, it did say that she tried to kill herself several times as a child. So I'm not entirely sure what people think is a typical childhood, but she was supposedly a typical student. Marybeth once claimed that she was abused by her father, but she did deny that he had bad intentions. So like she was giving reasons for him to have been abusive, like he would hit her with a fly swatter because he had arthritis and his hands were no good, or he locked her in her bedroom because she deserved it. It's as if she's taking the blame herself. Now, Marybeth wanted to go to college. She had ideas for what she wanted for her future, but she never ended up going. She had low-paying jobs, but eventually she did become a nurse's aide at Ellis. Fuck's sake. I'm sorry. I'm not laughing at the story. I'm laughing at what the word I'm about to try to pronounce. She did eventually become a nurse's aide at Ellis Hospital, Schenectady. I'm sorry. And it said that she performed her duties in an adequate manner. So they really, really wanted to give off the impression that like she was nothing special, which is a horrible thing to try to portray about a person. In 1963, she went on a blind date with her friends and she met a man called Joe. And I quote, they got on reasonably well, so they got married in 1965. Joe was a quiet man. He wasn't prone to outbursts of temper, and he just seemed to take life in his stride. And I think for Marybeth, who is apparently adequate, that seemed perfect for her. Like many other married couples, they worked hard to make a decent living and to try to build themselves a better life. The only exception for this married couple was that their children kept dying. And when I say kept dying, there's a total of 9 children. So it all began on the 3rd of January 1972. Their youngest daughter, Jennifer Lewis, who was just 8 days old, died in hospital. This is the only one of all the deaths that has been treated as not suspicious. Jennifer Lewis never left the hospital, and the autopsy said that she died of acute meningitis. Now, if we look at this as a case of possible postnatal or postpartum, this could be seen as a triggering moment. Just 17 days later, on the 20th of January, Joseph Jr. was brought dead to Ellis Hospital. Doctors believed that he died from a viral infection and maybe a seizure disorder, but there was a lapse in procedure and no autopsy was ever performed. At the time, it wasn't treated as suspicious, but when this all came to a head, people started to question. And then, on March the 2nd of the same year, their last living child, Barbara Ann, also died. They did actually do an autopsy this time, but they found no ultimate cause of death. There were suggestions of Rey syndrome, which is an often fatal childhood syndrome of brain and liver degeneration that is marked by seizures. So Marybeth told the doctors that there were seizures, but only Marybeth ever saw the seizures. The death certificate claimed it was cardiac arrest. This was the first death that was reported to the police, but after speaking with the doctors, the investigation stopped because the doctors had possible reasons of why she passed away. This is going to seem like a list, but this is the easiest way for me to tell you about all of the children. So the 4th child, Timothy, he died on the 10th of December 1973. And that was just 2 weeks after he was born. He arrived at hospital, he was on the brink of death, and his death was blamed on SIDS, which is sudden infant death syndrome. Again, there was no autopsy ordered, and this time there was even no report received after. In 1975, 5-month-old Nathan died. This was attributed to an acute pulmonary edema. Then in 1979, Mary Frances was 3.5 months old. This death was put down to SIDS again. Then in 1980, they had Jonathan, who was 3 months old, who passed away. This death was claimed as undetermined. Up until this point, the doctors wondered if maybe there was some rare genetic within the family. Maybe this was causing all of these sudden deaths. They wanted a reason. But in 1981, Marybeth and Joe started the process to adopt a child called Michael Raymond. There are no records of the adoption. It said it was a private adoption between a young mother. Michael did go to the hospital a couple of weeks before his death. Michael did actually go to Ellis Hospital a couple of weeks before his death, and he was treated for some possibly suspicious injuries. So suspicions were raised, but the autopsy after his death showed he actually died of bronchial pneumonia. Up to this point, the closest anyone had ever come to attempting to make a connection was when Mary Frances died. But the pathologist at St Clair's Hospital, who looked into 5 of the previous deaths, couldn't explain Mary's death. So it was put down to SIDS, and there was nothing to investigate. Now, Michael had died, and that wasn't a suspicious death. 4 years later, just before Christmas, on the 20th of December 1985, their 3.5-month-old daughter, Tammy Lynn, was reportedly found unconscious in her bed by her mother, and she was rushed to ER. The doctors instantly thought that she had died of SIDS, But an autopsy was performed that showed that Tammy Lynn had actually been asphyxiated. So after the autopsy, the police conducted an investigation, and Marybeth eventually actually confessed to smothering Tammy Lynn. In her statement to the police just hours before she was arrested, she said that she had tried to quieten Tammy Lynn, who was fussing. She said, "I finally used a pillow from my bed and put it over her head. I held it until she stopped crying. I didn't mean to hurt her. I just wanted her to stop crying." Joe was still sound asleep and didn't know I came in and got a pillow. When I finally lifted the pillow off Tammy, she wasn't moving. I put the pillow on the couch and made it look like I had been sleeping on there. And then I screamed for Joe. In the rest of her statement, she actually confesses to killing some of the other children. She said that she smothered Timothy because he was making funny sounds from a cold. She killed Nathan because she was driving in the car and he was making sounds from the back seat. So she put the pillow over his face and then drove to an ice cream parlour for help. She said, "I did not do anything to Jennifer, Joseph, Barbara, Michael, Mary Frances, or Jonathan. Just these three, Timothy, Nath, and Tammy. I smothered them each with a pillow because I'm not a good mother. I'm not a good mother because of the other children." It's as if crying was triggering her to feel like an unfit mother, as if her children were not supposed to fuss or make noises or cry. And if they did, it was just evidence that she wasn't meant to have these children. And it feels as if she was the main person raising the children. It was claimed by the chief pathologist at Ellis Hospital that Joe seemed a bit distant from the children. He said the father seems to have shown little curiosity in the circumstances of all these children's death. He has difficulty in remembering all their names. So Marybeth would have been looking after the children and dealing with the children on her own, and if she was suffering from postnatal, it would have made it worse. She was sentenced to 20 years in prison and she was refused parole 6 times. Every time she went in front of the parole board, they were expecting her to have some form of regret or repentance, but it was as if she didn't understand to begin with. She showed no remorse, and she's quoted as saying, "After the deaths of my children, I just lost it. I became a damaged, worthless piece of a person, and when my daughter was young, in my state of mind at the time, I just believed that she was going to die also. So I just did it." So she felt like the child was going to die anyway. She was going to be punished for being a bad mum. So she just did it anyway. As I said previously, it is not an excuse for the lives that she took in any way, shape or form. And I am not trying to excuse her. I find the human psyche very interesting. And I can't help but feel that she suffered somehow from some form of depression. The fact that she tried to kill herself several times as a child as well makes it that she was prone to depression. But as I said, it wasn't until 1994 that postpartum depression was even considered a thing. She was released in 2018 on parole. She was 80 years old. And what I found really, really odd was Joe. He never divorced her. He continued to speak with her and visit her throughout the time that she was in prison. And when she got out at the age of 80, she moved back in with her husband, and they've gone on to live a very quiet life away from prying eyes. So those are the cases of Alice Bunch and Marybeth Tinning. I am not in any way trying to excuse the behaviour. The murder of children, or the possible murder of children, is just a despicable act. I just wanted to highlight that mental health is important, and looking after people's mental health is important. Anyway, If you have stuck around this long, thank you very much. I do appreciate it. I hope you have liked the video. Please make sure you click that like button if you do, because it all helps with engagement. And don't forget to click subscribe and the notification button so you don't miss the next one. Until next time, guys, look after yourselves.